but oh my goodness, that's uncooperative. I had some house guests, which was very lovely, but couldn't really get in the craft room. Didn't want to get glitter all over the house and all over my guests. Oh, I did the thing where I started talking and YouTube might not have been ready for me. So if it cut me off weird, what I was saying is I haven't been here a couple of days because I had some house guests, which was very, very lovely. But I wasn't really in the craft room glittering because I didn't want to get glitter. It sort of spreads, and if I keep the craft room door shut, the glitter sort of stays contained. So I've kind of been not glittering the past couple of days. What I have been doing is making about a billion mini strands of beads. So I love to do the little mini beads to do on my party tables. I do a thing where I cut the straps off of shoes and I make it a table and I put like king cakes and drinks and stuff. And so I love to do that. So I made a ton of beads. And I also, this is a little bit weird, but why not? The niche stuff sort of works. So I'm a little bit of a very casual, very uneducated art history buff, and one of my favorite genres of visual art are Dutch still lifes. And one of the things I think is cool about Dutch still life paintings is that they would make these bouquets or these arrangements that couldn't possibly exist in nature. So they would paint one flower and then wait months for a different flower to bloom and put that in the same bouquet. So it was a way of making a work of art that represented, a bouquet of their artistic dreams and not necessarily something that could ever happen in reality. So they would have different things that were from different seasons all in the same composition. And so that's an extremely pretentious way of me saying that I was thinking about it and I want to lean into that with my when I do bead trees, when I do bead fences, when I do tables. And so I went hard on what I was like, what are seasonal things? What are things that without time travel I wouldn't necessarily have on the same table? So I made a bunch of this. Right now we're in March, so we have the March parades. I did some little St. Joseph's beads, and so those are like the we have a set at the glitter store. It's 20 bucks and it's a really good deal for a lot of options for it's called the March bead package. So we have bead package A, B, C, and D, and those are different breakdowns of different like types of crews. But the March package has St. Joseph's and St. Patrick's Day. So I made a bunch of little St. Joseph's. I did some St. Patrick's Day ones. Those are some little mugs of Guinness, and I did some little and these charms come in the set. Did some little sorry, the blur is weird. I did some little St. Patrick's Day ones. I did these I think are very, very cute. And I'll flip it around and show y'all all of it all together. But so I did some St. Joseph's, I did some St. Patrick's Day. I went ahead and did my like March ones. I did some lemons for St. Joseph's Day and also for like the produce. These are not in the kit, unfortunately. I had these in my stash, but I loved them so much. I did some little veggies. So those are some little carrots, and then this is in the kit. It looks like potatoes and cabbage. So these beads, except for the carrots, are all in the kit. So that the set. So I did my St. Joseph's and my St. Patrick's Day. I did my March, so I can have March parades in my table, even though they wouldn't be with all the carnival stuff. Because I do have a bunch of carnival stuff. I did like some purple, green, and golds. These are purple, green, and gold with like some pearls in it. I did a bunch of these are meant to look like the Muses tile beads. I know the words are flipped. And then I did some purple iris ones. So I have all the Mardi Gras stuff. I did some spring stuff. I did some St. Patrick's Day stuff. I did some classic Mardi Gras stuff. These are a mix that to me kind of looks like the vintage check ones. You would not see the vintage check ones in a bead tree, but it's a Dutch still life. I'm allowed to put anything I want on there if it could have, in theory, existed at any point in time. And then I've got these cute little skulls that are a little bit more like Crew of Boo, a little bit Halloweeny. So when I make one, I kind of do the same thing. I do the same design a couple of times because that's a little more efficient for me. And then if I make like 5 king cake tables or 5 bead trees, I can put one strand on each. And I am going to, maybe we'll do this today. I have one. She did not get thrown in 2027 because I just felt like her beads were a little sparse. But let's focus. Let's do one thing at a time. So the other thing I did were like Pride Parade beads. So I pulled out some rainbows, did some little rainbow beads. just different configurations, but all of them rainbow. And then I find it very satisfying to make a whole bunch of them and line them up. That is probably like diagnosable, but I love to. So I've got these rainbow ones. Those are kind of like summery festival seasony, but they're also kind of Pride Parade. And then I had a little bit, so I could do a couple of I could do just two little trans flag, light pink, light blue, and white beads. And then I bought these. Oh, I had one little rainbow umbrella. So I made one little rainbow umbrella bead. I bought these turtles to make a specific bead tree for a specific recipient that needed turtles on it for reasons that I don't need to get into. And I had a bunch of these other turtles. So I was like, oh boy, these turtles can be those are bisexual pride turtles. So I've got some bisexual turtles on my tree, as one does. And so those are like I find that very satisfying lining them all up. So yeah, I've got gay pride, I've got some trans flag, I've got some bi flag. And then I've also got lots of I did a lot. This is kind of what I worked on this week because I could do it. This relaxes me. This chills me out. And I didn't have to crack into the craft room to do it. I can do this on the couch or when I'm hanging out with my boys while they're reading books and stuff. So that's very nice. So those are my Pride Parade beads. Those are my St. Patrick's Day parades. Those are my St. Joseph's altar. And I do put the little St. Joseph's beads, I do put some of those on the altar when I make little altar shoes. So yeah, I've got Mardi Gras, I've got all that. But in the spirit of things that are my favorite things, and even if they wouldn't necessarily all coexist on the same table because they only happened, as far as I know, last year in 2026, but I still want to have them on my tables. I want to show you guys the little minis that I made that are represent my two favorite sustainable throws from the past season. So my two favorite sustainable 2026 throws. Because if you know me, you know I love miniatures, you know I love New Orleans, you know I love sustainable carnival. I love it when people do throw that just it thrills me when people do throws that are actually like useful, or you can eat them or you can keep them. I love seeing more of that, and love seeing less plastic. So I just put together a tutorial, and I'm going to pop it up here and pop it up on my Patreon and probably also put it on my Instagram. I want it to be available to people. So I just put up the tutorial for how to make my little mini hand pies. And you can see I did different ones with different crews and different throws. So these are shoes because I'm going to put them on shoes, and I do make little minis, and I kind of my favorite design for a bead tree is I have the bead tree coming off the back of the shoe, and then in the front of the shoe I have like a little picnic, some little like king cake and pies and like beads and like a little pile. Like you're at the parade and there's a big beautiful bead tree behind you and a picnic of snacks in front of you, and you're just having the best time. I am still feeling the post parade blues, so bear with me. I will probably feel the post parade blues every day until we have parades again, not counting the St. Patrick's and the St. Joseph. No disrespect to the St. Patrick's and the St. Joseph's. I didn't get to go out for them because I had house guests. So the little hand pies. I gotta be like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So I went and like got the logo off the internets, and I made some of these little Iris hand pies because they partnered and they did little Iris branded hand pies. So when I make, I'm gonna drop some things. When I make my little scenes, when I do my little picnic on the front of my bead trees or with my bead fences, when I do my little picnic, I'm gonna put some of the little Iris hand pies in. Like you were at the parade and you caught one and you took a bite and you put it down to go catch the next thing. And this one, the flavors were on the back of the package, so you can put any flavor you want. But look, guys, I did a little lemon one. Look at my little Iris lemon pie. I love that. Iris is killing it on the sustainable throws. Big snaps from moi. So my really like this knocked my socks off, and I made about 1,000,000 of them because I want to put them on absolutely anytime I do a mini scene. I'm going to put some of these on. So I really hope I'm saying her name correctly. I might not be, and that's me not. That's me. Francisca Trotman, I want to say is the pronunciation. The one of the two founders of Glass Half Full was the queen of Crew de Vue this year, and it was Save the Wet Glands. So it was wetlands themed, but also Crew de Vue because, of course. And she had the glass beads made out of bottles. So, like, you know, blue gin bottles and like different colored bottles. She had glass beads made by a local glass artist. So freaking cool. That's amazing. And then she strung them into beads. And so they kind of looked like this, but mini. Or they looked like this is what they look like in mini form. They were blue with like green alternating. So I did do some minis of those. And then this, I'm stupid proud of these. I'm very excited. With some of her beads, she made keychains and she threw the keychains or keychains were her throws. And so that had a couple of the glass beads, not necessarily Fanny has arrived. Though that had like a couple glass beads on a strung together and then on a keychain. And so to really hammer home what it is, I made the little keychains and I put mini keys on them. So that's what they looked like. And I Miss Bryce. Ugh. So I made a boatload of these. And it's going to be kind of, you're going to have to suspend disbelief a little bit because these wouldn't be in a bead tree. Nobody would have accidentally thrown their keys into a bead tree, but those are the little keychains. I'm going to flip it around so y'all can actually see these because it's hard to see them. But I do want y'all to see the bead trees and all my little minis. Hang on, how do I flip it around? All right. So this is what I was talking about. These are my lemons for St. Joseph's Day. Those are some St. Patrick's. Those are some St. Patrick's. Bunch of the St. Joseph's beads with the little, sorry about the blur, the little stripes. Did some little spring ones. Those are plenty of Pride Parade beads, little rainbow beads. Those are my bisexual turtles. Did some little spring leaves. Some St. Patrick's Day. I really love the veggies. I think that's very funny because I love that we throw vegetables. That's just such a quirky New Orleans thing. And then this one that's supposed to be cabbage and potatoes. And I just mixed all the beads that are in the kit. Couple trans flags. These are some Mardi Gras beads. Those I just made some plain green ones because we have plain green in the March kit. These are my vintage inspired ones, like all different sizes and types. The old check ones. These are some iris beads. I'm gonna put some iris beads with the iris. That would be super cute on a little mini scene, on a little picnic. So I've got those, the little iris pies. These are some regular pies. And then purple, green, and gold skulls. But guys, look at these little keychains. Those are the beads. And I think I want to put a post side by side so y'all can see kind of the comparison. Those are my Muses tile beads. Those are some more little spring daisies. Cute little spring. But look at my keychains. Look how fun those are. And they really do. I really looked at a lot of reference images that if you look at her Instagram and she has a post where it's like everything I'm throwing for Crew de Vue, that is absolutely what they look like. But the little keys really sell it. The little keys, oops, sorry, my big hand in there. The little keys really sell it, and I'm really entertained by that a lot. Ah, so this isn't a proper session in our full-blown, this isn't like a session. So I'm not going to count this as session 12 because we're not working on but let me go ahead and put some more beads on her because when I bagged her up, and I do want to mention this, when I throw a light up tile shoe like this, I do throw a mini Scrooge, a little packet that I make that has replacement batteries and a mini screwdriver, because if I put the work in for it to light up, I want you to be able to light it up even when your batteries die. So I do put one of those whenever I package a light up tile shoe like this one. And there is a video of the light up tile shoe, I want to say on the NOLA Craft Culture YouTube. We are sort of in the position that it is going to be a little confusing. I am going to have stuff that's on my personal YouTube versus I'm going to try to keep stuff that's useful in many places, but I kind of figure shop stuff will be a little bit more cleaned up and a little bit more approved for all audiences, whereas my personal stuff, I kind of feel comfortable just saying whatever. And I would love to I think I'm going to do some lives on my Patreon because I think it's set up to do that. What I've been doing on the YouTube lives is recording them as private and then editing it to public so that people can see them. That way I'm not dealing with comments during the live because I do not have the capacity to focus. I'm sorry, this is, I know, excruciatingly boring watching me. I'm just trying to take the ribbons off of this so I can open her up and add some more beads to her. There we go. There we go. Almost there. So this is not session 12 because I'm not working on my po' boys. I'm not working on my pizza slices or my velvets. I'll come back and do another session. For those, now that we're rolling again, I'm going to get her out of the bag. So this is a bead tree light up tile shoe. So she lights up. She's got her little switch underneath, and it's Velcroed, but you can, with the screwdriver, you can replace her batteries. And her switch toggles off and on so that you don't waste her batteries. So that's her. She has a good amount of beads. I was just looking at her and thinking, oh, I feel like I want her to just have more beads. I just feel like she's not the lush and beautiful bead tree of my dreams. So when I am putting beads on a bead tree, either the regular kind of, and I think I'm probably going to do some bead trees in the series that I'm doing. When I'm doing a bead tree like this, I do the tiles and then I fit all the little branches in. When I'm ready to add the beads to the bead tree, I use a tiny dollop of E6000 and I put it right on the branch where I want it. I close my E6000 immediately because my E6000 is so gooey. And then let's do it. Let's do, like, I'm going to put a St. Joseph's here. And then let me find a good spot to put a keychain because that, I think, is very funny and I'm very entertained by my own silliness. And again, we're suspending disbelief. Nobody who caught one of these keychains would let it out of their sight. I know that for sure. All right, where would be a good? I'm just going to turn her around while I contemplate where I want the keychain to go. Oh man, I really like that. I really like it. Okay, I did some with 2 big keys and then some with 3 little keys. I'm gonna do 3 little keys, 3 little birdies sitting on my doorstep. I am sorry for whoever threw their keys in the bead tree, but it looks really cute. Look at that little bead, little keychain with the keys on it. These are the things that really do it for me. Let's see, what else? I like that we're doing a little Dutch still life action. I am going to put some regular carnival beads in here. I'm going to put a lot of regular carnival beads in here. I just didn't quite have enough. She just didn't quite look lush enough for me. All right, she's already got the check ones. She's got a duck, she's got a shoe, she's got a multi. Just going to put a bunch more. That's these are really labors of love because you can do it with just a couple of bead strands. She can be early in the season. A bead tree doesn't have that many bead strands on her yet. But for her to really look lush and gorgeous, it takes a lot of beads. Now, I really do enjoy stringing them, but I'm not going to pretend that it isn't like work to string them. anything is work, I'm afraid. So I'm going to put, I mean, not I'm afraid. The work is part of what makes it meaningful. If it were easy to make a million throws, they wouldn't be special. So I'm just using my toothpick. Let me put, let's put an Irish one in here. And you know, the beads, here's the thing, the beads do stay up there sometimes. So it's not like regular seasonal produce. You might have them sit there for a minute. Who else is going up there? All right. And I kind of sometimes I put some beads in the sitting in the on the ground, if you will. I think that's cute. Little dot, just a little dot. Hot glue works okay as well. I just find the E6000 holds a little bit better. And, you know, I'm all about it holding well. So I would like it to withstand not only the ride, but being kept as an as a display piece for a long time. All right, I'm starting to I want to make sure that I'm not repeating anything, though it would be fine also if it repeated. That's not a big deal. It's not like one parade doesn't get multiple beads in the tree. I think what I need are some simple ones. I have all my like showstoppers because those are the ones I wanted to show off to you guys. I'm going to put one of the glass half full ones up high in a prominent spot. Yes, gosh, guys, I love that so much. That makes me so happy. Uh, what, what are we going to do if not weird stuff? All right. Okay. And then I'll probably kind of sit on it for a minute and see what speaks to me. Do I want to put, I already put a rainbow one, and I'll make some simple ones as I go. Hmm. I want my iris one prominent, so I don't want to put her too tucked away. Mm, I'll put one of my little green leaves down here. That's pretty. That's fun. Okay. So she's just looking more filled in and fun. She's just looking more dynamic, and I just want her to be nice and dynamic. But I will need to make some more. As many as I have, I think I'm going to need more options to pick from because I like a nice variety. Are you gonna? Hmm. Will you sit? Will you sit nicely? Yeah. So she's just looking better, looking a little bit more. I now am a little more happy to throw her. I am gonna have to take the 6 off of her and put a 7, but that's not too big of a deal. I can razor that off, no problem. And then just put a 7. And if I didn't remember what color, I can tell looking at it that that's DEA badge silver, so I'm not stressed about just making my 7. Yeah, so now she just says 202, and I'll pop a 7 on there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do a few more bead strands. She's tall, so she's kind of a little bit, she needs to be handled just so. I'm gonna put some more bead strands on her, but that does feel better to me. That does feel more in line with the experience I'm trying to create. And yeah, I'll just keep doing some beads, keep making her lush and fabulous. And then when she's ready to roll, she'll be a little light up bead tree. And that's very fun. So that was my sort of little, not a full blown session, but a little check in and a little moment to share the weirdness. So thank you all for sharing. I will be back for session 12. We will keep on rolling on our shoe marathon. And in the meantime, I hope everybody is keeping their head on straight and doing all right. I will see y'all soon. How do I stop?